Hello, Mark Red Larson here for the Drink Catcher Podcast. Thanks for joining us. My guest today is
Damie Elder-Hiscock.
welcome to the podcast, the Drink Catcher Podcast. So we are in Ashland, Nebraska, at your husband and yours business, and I know a lot of people know your business more than I. My wife and I just stumbled on that recently. So the name of your business is
Fariner Bakery.
So okay. Little background on that. How did you always want to do a bakery?
Good question. No, actually, I fought it for a very long time.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. I worked in education and then healthcare for my career. Yeah.
Wow.
Self-taught.
Okay.
I just baked for fun at home. I did kids' birthday cakes and whatnot. I did start baking out of my home for other people, kind of spread word of mouth.
Okay.
And I had been doing that for about 10 years before the bakery opened.
Okay.
And so I, just my own personality and hobbies, I like to learn new things. And so I had, during that time, really been pushing my skill set and learning different pastries and different techniques. So when the bakery opened here, I didn't have any formal training. And I didn't even know if the woman who was opening the bakery would look at my resume at all, because I hadn't been a baker. But at that time, I was really just kind of personally struggling in my career. I was not happy where I was anymore. And it sounded fun to work at the bakery.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of threw my hat in the ring, and we got along well, and she was needing just kind of another body in the kitchen.
Okay.
And so I came in as a morning baker for the weekends. And so I started here when we were test baking before the bakery opened. And I would come out and work, 4 a.m. to 2 p.m. or so. Every Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
And we lost our head baker pretty quickly, about a month or so into being open.
Wow.
And so, that's where everything kind of shifted, and I took over, and I've been here.
So this was a bakery before you had this bakery here?
Well, yeah, we opened as a bakery in December 2021.
Okay.
But this building that we're in was actually a plumbing shop. So this building is historic to Ashland. It's been here a very, very long time.
Nice.
And there was a gentleman who ran his plumbing business out of the shop, but he's been retired for a very long time. And so before the bakery, the shop was here, and it was just kind of stocked full of plumbing supply. And it was not an active shop. It was just sitting here, not actually empty, but full. But
I can imagine. Well, that was probably undertaking. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so it was definitely a labor of love by the previous owner. She wanted Ashland to have the bakery. And so she saw this building, saw the potential in it. She headed up the project. Her and her husband, they headed up the project of getting it stripped out. Wow. They built the kitchen into the space. It was just one big empty space. They busted the back out. We have a nice patio up.
Really? Mm-hmm. So they did a lot.
They did a lot. Yeah. And they painted it all white. It was not white before.
Okay.
They really made it into a gorgeous little space.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it has such a great vibe, like we were talking earlier. So, so when was the opening day for you guys here?
Yeah, it was December 2021. So mid-December, right before Christmas.
Okay.
And it was a wild ride.
I was going to say, we opened right before Christmas. I could see that could be.
Yeah. Yeah. We're a small town, and we assumed that traffic would be very light, especially as a new bakery. People didn't know.
Right.
And it was a little rough. I mean, even with test baking, our oven that we brought in for the bakery, it didn't get delivered and installed until the day before we opened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so even like all of our test baking, it wasn't in the oven. It was in a different.
That would have been tough.
It was tough. Yeah. And, we didn't know exactly what staffing needed to be like.
Yeah. I mean, wow. You just
Yes.
Yes.
It was a wild ride. Yeah. And when we opened, we had a big line, and we sold out so fast, like in a couple hours. There was nothing left.
Cool.
Because it was just a shot in the dark how much to prep. We didn't know.
You wouldn't have it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was a little rough, but we made it through.
You jumped really all with both feet there.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Definitely.
No, I mean, so did you have a vision of the space before you opened it? I mean, with everything you've got laid out here?
Yeah. Yeah, the woman who opened it, she definitely did. She wanted to have this market. The market has grown a lot over the years. And also it's shifted. There's a time where the market was bigger than it is now, and it was taking up actual bakery space, and that was problematic. And so the market now, it's sizable, but the bakery has always been pastry led, which is very unique about the bakery. Nowadays you see a lot of coffee shops.
You do,
which are great. I love coffee shops.
Me too. Yep.
But the bakery has always been bakery with a coffee shop. Like the bakery has coffee.
I see what you mean. Yes.
Yes. And I mean, it's every day the pastry sales outstrip coffee sales by like 3 times.
Wow.
People come here for the pastries and bread. They just do. That's how it works. And we also have a huge wine collection.
We do. We have awesome
it's grown a lot. It's a great collection.
It is.
So, we're trying to really build trust in our customers that they could come here and get a great bottle at pretty much any price point.
Yeah, you do have a lot of price points. Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
The day my wife and I came here, that was a Saturday, which you were very busy.
Yes.
And I mean, it was so good. I just wanted to not go home.
Yeah, right? It's wonderful.
So how do you find your merchandise, your wines and
Yeah, so we work with a lot of different suppliers. We have, all the wines that come in, we have some really good reps who they kind of know our taste and the styles that we like. And, they always try to push us to other things, which is great. It's great to have your palate pushed in different areas. And so there's a lot of stuff that we don't know that we bring in because we taste it and we're like, no, that's wonderful. We really want to bring that in.
Right.
And then there's other things that we know about, so we go out searching for those items.
That would be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've brought in, my husband and I are from, we met and had our first child in Walla Walla, Washington.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is big wine country.
Yeah.
And so we've brought in a couple wineries from Walla Walla, which has been really fun. We didn't have those before. And we actually just got back from a trip to Walla Walla where, we were able to meet different people.
You got to do research.
Yes, right? Very fun. And so we're looking at bringing in a few more that were very outstanding. In June, we're actually having a dinner with one of them, with Nicole.
Okay.
We're having a wine dinner, which we're very much looking forward to. It's going to be a fun one.
So how do people find out about that? Do you have a website?
We do, yeah. So our social media account is very, very active.
Okay.
And so I do always try to actively post on our social media so people know what is coming up right away. It's and also just what's going on right now.
Right.
Frequently,
exactly.
If we have a low traffic day and we have outsized number of pastries as we're heading into the end of the day, I'll post, something about that so people know. Because most of the time towards the end of the day, it's pretty sparse.
Yeah, I can see that too.
So maybe somebody wouldn't swing by because they don't think they'll get anything. Whereas if they see that, oh no, they do.
Yeah, that is a good way to do that.
Yeah, it's a really, and our community online is very actively engaged with our account. And so they really do see these things that come out, which has been really fun. It's a great way to communicate quickly with people. But we do also have a newsletter, which does it goes further down the line of what's coming and what's going on behind the scenes. And just kind of our mindset on things frequently.
Love it.
Just kind of where we're coming from. But yeah, our website, we have an events page. We also have a market page on there with different things that you can order, like our merchandise.
Oh, really? You can order the merchandise there?
Yeah. And so that's really fun. We also do have a couple membership boxes. So our market box and wine club membership. So those
check that out.
Yes. So those are all available online.
That is so much. I mean, that is so cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know when you find time to do that, but that is so cool. So you're probably on social media, like Facebook and Instagram and all that too?
Yeah, Instagram's definitely our primary.
I can see that.
But we're quite active on Facebook as well.
Okay. You guys must not sleep. Oh, because you were just telling me how much bread you must make in a day's time.
Yeah. We have a very robust bread program. Which we're always looking to expand. We have a sweet spot for bread for sure.
Bread is so awesome.
Yeah, and we do, classic yeasted breads, but sourdough is really the cornerstone of our bread program.
Love sourdough.
Our sourdough is excellent, if I do say so myself.
I think that's what we had that day when we were here, and it was very good with the wine we had.
It's very fun, yeah. So we have all kinds of sourdough breads. We have our classic sourdough that we have every single day.
Okay.
It's without fail. That is on the rack. But yeah, frequently we have our sourdough focaccia. We have sourdough baguettes. We'll have alternate flavors of sourdough.
Nice.
Sourdough tarts.
So does it depend on the day how much you make?
Yes,
I was going to say,
does.
I would think probably.
It does. And over the years, we've gotten better at guessing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. You look at traffic patterns and there's kind of the standards,
Yep.
But it can vary wildly.
I have no doubt.
Yeah. And a lot of it is, you look at the traffic patterns, but then you also look at the weather. What's the weather going to be like? And then you look at the special events in surrounding areas.
Yes. Yeah.
It all goes into play.
Yeah. Does, so I have to ask, how did you get from Walla Walla to Nebraska?
Good question. So we were out in Walla Walla. That's where we went to college.
Okay.
But Walla Walla is a very unique town.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of it's a big college town. So there's a lot of there's a lot of young people there. There's 2 colleges, but it's very, very small. Well, 3 actually. There's 3 colleges.
Wow.
But it's a very, very small town. And so it really ebbs and flows with the seasons.
That makes sense.
And then there's a lot of working class folk there.
Okay.
And then there's all the wineries. And there's not really very much in the middle.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So my husband and I, we graduated and there wasn't a logical next step.
Okay. I see what you mean. Okay.
No, we loved Walla Walla, but we really needed to move out.
And that's what.
Yeah. Okay. So we were looking at grad school programs. And I was looking for jobs. My husband was looking for grad school.
Okay.
And we were essentially just kind of like, whatever pops, that's where we'll go.
Right.
I had done my first 2 years of college in Lincoln.
Okay.
And so I did have some connections back in Lincoln,
Sure.
which is why I happened to look for jobs.
Okay.
And I got a job offer in Lincoln, so we moved.
That kind of brought you to Nebraska then. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's got to be because I do not know what the scenery is there. I mean, it must be if they grow grapes. Is it Italy?
It's quite deserty. Yeah.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah, it is. Walla Walla is in the very, very southeast corner of Washington.
Okay.
And so it's very, very different from Seattle.
Wow.
Everyone kind of thinks of Seattle.
Yeah, that's what I think of too.
Which is beautiful. We love the West Coast. But yeah, the eastern side of the state is very dry. And
I did not realize that.
Everyone always kind of calls Walla Walla like the baby Napa.
Okay.
But actually, since it's significantly north of Napa, it's actually a little bit different. There's a lot of people who, in the past, they've treated the wines there very much in line with Napa.
Okay.
But now there's kind of like this movement coming out that's treating it more in line with the longitude of where they are in Europe.
Wow, that's cool.
Down in Napa.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what do they line up with over in Europe?
Some of it depends on which side of the hill you're on.
I can see that too.
Yeah, and so there's some that are, on the north side that they're more of those like French wines. But then the south side is actually very like, Italian or Greek.
I like those wines too.
Yes.
I mean, those are
honestly some of our favorite wines. Yeah,
me too.
Yeah.
So, do you bring in like Italian wines and other
We
ones?
do.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely have some French. We're a French-inspired bakery.
Right.
That's what we always say.
Right.
We're not a straight-up line French bakery. We aren't. We are very American in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Our cinnamon rolls, those are not French at all. But they're wonderful.
They are. Yes.
We have a lot of stuff that we love that wouldn't be in the case if we were a French bakery.
Yeah.
But our wine collection in the last year or so, my husband and I have owned the bakery for a year now.
Okay.
It's just over a year.
Okay. Congratulations.
And thank you. And the Italian collection of wines has really grown. And I mean, one of our shelves is fully Italian, and then they also bleed out from there. So we definitely still have a lot of French.
Okay.
And we have a fair bit from here in the U.S., in California and Washington. But the Italians,
they do.
They're beautiful.
They definitely drink a lot of it too.
Yeah.
The time I was there, it's like that's why I like the vibe. It was in southern part of Italy, but it's like let's have some wine.
Yep.
So do you? I mean, have you been? You've been.
I have not.
I haven't.
No.
Oh, you bet. You have. I got to do research.
My husband has.
Okay.
My husband has traveled pretty extensively because of his career.
Okay. Cool.
Yes, and so he used to pre.
Okay.
He would spend summers in Europe. I mean, he spent summers in Turkey and Austria, England. I mean, all over the place.
Oh, so cool.
And so, Italy. He spent a couple of summers in Italy. And so he's definitely experienced that and kind of brought it back. Also, he's from Northern California.
Okay.
And so there's a fair bit of that kind of feel there as well in areas. And so, yeah, we brought it here.
That is so cool. So do you have any Nebraska wines?
No.
Well, they're getting better, but they still have a long ways to go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We don't carry any local wines.
Yeah. I mean, they have a ways to go, especially when you have those other ones. Yeah. We have found some in Kansas that are coming along really well. There's one down in Manhattan that is called Liquid Art. Okay. And if you ever get a chance to go to Manhattan, it's on the side of the Flint Hills, and they're getting really close to being a really good wine. So, that's awesome. But yeah, everybody's like Nebraska. And I think it's a climate.
I think it really is the climate. So, grapevines, everyone always says the best wines come from vines that struggle. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's farm country.
It is.
The plants really don't have much struggle.
No.
It's great growing. So.
No, that's true. So I have to ask, being the Dreamcatcher podcast, when you were growing up, what were your dreams? What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Oh goodness, all kinds of things. I really, yeah. It was one of the frustrations of my life, honestly.
Okay.
Because I grew up in a family that had very, very decisive dreams.
Oh wow, okay.
It's just me and my sister.
Okay.
But my sister's an artist. She's amazing, truly an incredible artist. And there was never any doubt, that is what she was going to do with her life. From the time she was a toddler. Yeah. It was just
she really did.
Yeah, it was very apparent. And she never swayed from it. And my husband, he always wanted to do music. Always.
That's really interesting. That early on.
Yeah. And I was always very jealous of having
because
very clear vision of what you were going to do with your life. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to be a writer, I wanted to be a large animal veterinarian. There's just like a million things.
But most of us may go through. Yeah.
And I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. No. But it was definitely, I don't know. I just wanted to know. I wanted to know what I was going to do. And that has not been my path at all. I've definitely bounced around a lot. I've had career changes. And I was actually planning on going to college for engineering. In high school, I kind of found that.
Really?
Yeah. In high school, I found that I really excelled at math and I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
And so, so I was planning on going for engineering. However, I am also hyper competitive.
Okay.
And which I'm kind of quiet. I tend to be a bit of an introvert. And so most people are surprised when they learn that I'm competitive because I'm quiet. But
you got to watch.
And so I had a classmate in high school who was going to college for music.
Okay.
And my foolish, 17-year-old self.
Oh, yes. We all have that age, yes.
It was 2 weeks before school started in the fall.
Okay.
And I found out she was going for music. She was going to the same school I was going to be going to for engineering. And I thought, well, she's going for music. I'm way better than she is.
Okay.
And I switched my degree. Which is so silly. And I switched it to piano performance.
Okay.
And it is what I graduated with.
Wow.
And that's how I met my husband. Well, I never would have met him otherwise.
Which is good. That's the way
So I started in Lincoln in college and I went out to Walla Walla, which is where I met my husband. He was of course in the music department because he's an opera singer. Right. And by my junior year or so, I finished piano and I love piano. It's great. But I realized this is not what I want to do as a career at all.
Do you perform?
Nowadays, no. I used to. I used to compete and perform all the time.
Okay, really? Okay.
But nowadays, no, absolutely not.
So I'm not going to see a piano in here anytime soon.
Well, we did have a piano.
Did you have a piano?
Holidays, which is very fun.
That's awesome.
We had some live music here a couple evenings. Yeah. But when I graduated, I was really adrift because I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to teach lessons. I didn't want to teach at schools. I didn't want to continue on to perform more.
Right.
But what do I do?
Exactly.
So that's when I got the job in Lincoln and we moved back I moved back. Jared moved to the Midwest. He had
Okay.
never been to the Midwest before at all.
Oh, wow.
Until he drove over the
Surprise.
hill on I-80. Yeah, so it was really a leap of faith for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was just, I was an executive assistant for a VP of academic administration at the college I had started at.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it for quite a while. And it was kind of one of the first times where I realized like I wasn't in the career that I had gone to college for. But there were so many things about what I had learned and gathered in college that I was able to kind of parlay into this new venture.
Okay.
So I really found in that job that I enjoyed like all of the nitty gritty, like list making and making sure that all the things are taken care of. And I really enjoyed that in that job. And I was there for about 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
But then I was looking for a career change.
Sure.
And so I was applying around. We had shortly after we moved to Lincoln, we really had a big life shift.
Okay.
We moved with our daughter, who was a year and a half old, and she was our only child at the time. And 2 weeks after we moved to Lincoln, she died.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And yeah, it was very traumatic, very unforeseen.
Yeah.
And it was a rough ride.
Oh, yes.
You know, my husband, who was going to be a stay-at-home dad for a year while he kind of looked at grad programs and whatnot. And then, I mean,
it changes everything.
Changes everything. Oh. And so, you know, we traveled a lot. We ate out a lot. You know, what do you do with your time? You know, when you're a parent, so much of it is taken up.
Exactly.
You know, with your kid, and then all of a sudden, everything was blown. Yeah, it was wild. And so, when, you know, down the road, when I was looking for a career shift, I had this. I wanted to work in healthcare. I wanted to be a part, like. Everyone who had been there in the emergency room with us, right? Like you could see how much it affected them, how much they wanted to help and fix things, right? Yes. And then they weren't able to, and it broke them.
And I can understand that.
Terrible. Yeah. And I wanted to be a part of providing that for other people.
That is so
I didn't have an interest in going back to school and actually being in healthcare.
Sure. I see what you mean.
But I wanted to be able to be a part of that. And so I was specifically looking for jobs in health. Okay. And I ended up going over to St. Elizabeth's in Lincoln. Okay. And I ran their credentialing and privileging for the hospital. Okay. And so it was a big step up in responsibility and just all the work. And also it was a big challenge. I mean, just the learning curve was, I bet. Going into healthcare, there's so much new information. And so it was very fun. I loved the challenge. Cool. And again, it was a job that gave me so much, you know, lists and getting everything ready and doing all the stuff and, you know, stacking it up. And so it was very fun for a very long time. But then COVID came around.
Oh yeah, that changed everything.
Yes. And the job, the work in my office, it had never fully been updated to modern standards. Okay. And so there was a lot of actual paperwork being done, which I didn't mind. I liked it myself. Right. And the plan was always to update it, but you know, there's always so much work to be done.
It's a big
around to it. Yeah. And so when COVID hit, it really necessitated making that change.
I see that.
And so we updated the office to fully digital, which was wonderful for the hospital. Yeah, I could definitely see that too. Terrible for me.
Really? Okay, you didn't care for that?
No,
okay.
I hated just sitting on the screen all day.
And I would be the same way.
It just didn't give me the same fulfillment of, you know, having the finished piles of work. I just being on the computer, I hated it. And I just felt so burned out. And so that's when I was looking for something else. And that's when the bakery was opening.
Okay.
So that's why I took on the job of the morning baking on the
So everything just kind of is led into the next
and so it was very much just I need to do this for myself for fun. Yeah. To do something that fulfills me, because during the week I was just getting slowly bled.
And you just have to get out of that environment. So that's not healthy, or it's just not good.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Wow.
So that's what that's really what led to me being at the bakery. And then,
Okay.
at that time, it just so happened, there's so many pieces that just so happened.
Uh-huh.
My up until that point, I had always been the one to carry our family's health insurance, which
Okay.
especially after everything that happened with our daughter,
Yeah.
it was always a huge piece of the puzzle. We were
Oh, yes.
never willing to have a gap in that. We
No, I
had other
don't blame
children
you.
by this
Yes.
point.
Yes.
And so I had always carried that. And so it was never a possibility for me to leave
Until
the
you-
hospital.
Right.
But at this point, it just happened that there's my husband, Jared, back here.
Uh-huh.
It happened that Jared, he got a full-time offer in his field
Uh-huh.
locally. He was with Opera Omaha, where he could actually carry the benefits for the family.
Okay.
And we lost our head baker here, and he got that job offer. And so that's when we made the switch.
It has just kind of the pieces of just one after another.
Yeah.
So, where do you see this in like a year? Or, I mean, since you're just at your first year,
Yeah.
would you ever want to have another one?
People ask us this all the
I bet
time.
they do.
Yeah. Honestly, at this stage right now, it's still like a new baby.
Oh, yeah.
It
If you're just a
so
year,
much of our time
Yes.
to just finesse how everything works and what we
yes.
offer and processes for the team. It's it's so hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do ever open something else, it needs to be that this is a smooth running machine.
Yeah, this can
and
almost,
they know it in and out.
Yes.
So that we can invest in the new place personally ourselves.
True.
But also the thought of doing that kind of breaks me a little bit because I love my baby here and I don't want to leave it. I mean, not that we would ever leave it.
Right.
But, to step away. But that being said, we are kind of at the limit of what we can offer. It's a small space. It's a small kitchen.
True.
And so sometimes it can be frustrating that we don't have the time or the space
I could see
to do more.
Yeah, there's a balance there.
Yes. And so, exactly what that looks like, I'm not sure. But likely down the road, it will mean there is something else.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly what that will be.
No, I mean, so I got to ask. So in the little time of your husband and you have where there's nothing. So if you were going to have a favorite wine and a favorite, so do you have like a favorite meal or favorite?
Oh goodness!
That you
my oldest was just asking me this last night.
Was it? Okay.
What's your favorite meal? I don't know. It depends on like what I'm feeling like that night. I mean, there's just so much good food. Honestly, I think that's like the root of this. I just love food.
Me too.
But yeah, I don't know. Oh, some of my favorite wines in the shop I love Nebbiolo. I just
really
love it.
Okay.
Like, there's so many different expressions of it, and it's just one of my favorites.
Okay,
it's so good. But I mean, some of our just like really easy, fun wines are wines that you'll find in our wines by the glass.
Okay,
those are always like a really great price point and very easy, like wide appeal.
Right. I see.
So those are always just like really great go-tos.
Okay.
But yeah.
Do you prefer red or white?
I usually prefer red.
Me too.
Although last year, for whatever reason, last year was like my white year.
Was it?
I really, really liked whites and like opened up my palate a lot to whites. Before that, I don't know. They just didn't do it for me. But yeah, now I really do love them all. They're so fun. But generally, I would say red.
Okay. Yeah. That's me too. And the older I get, the more the drier the wine gets.
Yes, right.
Because some of that's one thing in this area, I find people like really sweet.
Yes.
And it's like,
yes.
Nope, can't do that anymore. So the things you make, are they recipes that are family recipes or bakery recipes? Okay.
A lot of it is, we are in the kitchen. We are very, very technique driven.
Okay.
Most of my bakers we've brought them in like from the ground up. Like they're not experienced bakers.
Gotcha.
We have had a mix in the past, which is great. With everything, there's pros and cons.
Oh yes.
And so it's fun to bring people in from the ground up because then you're teaching them in your ways.
Yes.
Whereas we've had several people. We have one right now actually who is awesome. She's so good. Who have come from the culinary programs. here.
Really? Okay, that's
and
awesome.
that's super fun because they come in kind of ready to hit the ground running.
Right.
However, lots of the ways they go about things are not how we do things here.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And so that there can be frustrations there. Also, them coming into a kitchen that is run by self-taught people has been an issue.
I could see that too. Yeah.
So, but in the kitchen we are very, very technique driven, and so it's very much about like understanding the ingredients and understanding how they interact. So that then when things happen, you know what to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, you know how to treat it. But also that does allow for experimentation within recipes to come up with new things.
True.
You know,
how fun.
Yeah, how flavors and ingredients act with each other and how the flavors combine. So there is definitely some test baking that happens in the kitchen, of course.
Right.
But honestly, the vast majority of the test baking happens in your head.
I guess I could see that. Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Thinking about the different flavors and how you want them to come across. You know, are you going to go in more of that like cake direction of like, you know, something baked and spongy, or do you want this to be more of like a cream presentation?
Right.
You know, and that really leads the thinking until you get down to the nitty gritty, and then that's where you actually get hands on.
Okay. I mean, it's chemistry kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. That's. I mean, so you have meals?
We do. Yes. Okay. So we have wine dinners that we offer here at the bakery. Okay. And, you know, the first several years that we were open, I think we had 3 that were, you know, pretty sporadic. We would just kind of offer them here and there. And which, you know, we didn't have a lot of time. We're still kind of learning everything.
Right, yeah.
But also offering them on a regular basis lets you get more practice.
True. Yeah, it's one of those where,
Yes. And so when we were offering them sporadically, every time they'd come up, they were hugely stressful. You know?
I can definitely understand that, yes.
And so now we don't offer them strictly monthly, but they are roughly monthly.
Okay.
So like right now we do not have a May one. You know, May is a crazy month in school.
It is.
And Mother's Day. Mother's Day is a huge brunch day, and there's just so much going on. And so we don't have a wine dinner.
Okay.
But you know, usually we do have one during the month, and they usually have some different theme. Sometimes it might be a type of cuisine, like we had a Mediterranean dinner.
I would love that one.
And so that's super fun. Sometimes it can be led very much by the wine. Maybe we're featuring a specific winery. So yeah, but there's some thread in each dinner that kind of runs through the entire.
So do you do like, this is not really the meal, pairings?
Yeah, we so there's a lot of different events that we offer. So the wine dinners, you know, the wine is paired with each course. So there are 4 wines, 4 courses, and then there's opening cocktails as well that kind of work with the upcoming meal that's coming up. But then we also have like every first Friday of the month, we have our featured wine tasting. So we have a featured wine rack here.
Oh, I do see that. Yes.
So that is unveiled the first Friday of the month. And again, there's usually some thread that kind of runs through the wines. So this month it is a specific winery. So all 5 wines are from that winery. And that night, it's a very self-led, you know, like we have our wine rep here who will talk to you as much or as little as you want about the wines.
That's nice too.
So if you really want to nerd out and learn
you can really get
you can totally do that. If you just want to taste the wines, you can do that.
That's nice.
And it's between 6 to 8, so you don't have to come right at 6. You just come when you're able between that time. And anybody who comes, these wines are 10% off that night. The full bottles.
Cool.
So that's a super fun evening. And then just our apero menu, so our like cocktail hours, that full menu is available as well. So we have like red quarts and deviled eggs and all kinds of stuff. This summer we're starting every Saturday night where we'll have hot dogs, and we'll have 3 different types of hot dogs on the menu.
I love it.
Yes, and we're using one of our local partners, Rake's Beef, for their hot dogs. And we'll also have a vegan option on the menu.
Good.
So that's super fun. We have a lot of live music on the patio coming up this summer.
Oh my gosh. I have to come back.
Yes. Sometimes we have wine tasting classes, and those are more formal. And so you have like a board with paired bites in front of you, and then somebody leading the class and talking about the notes, the tasting notes. And
I wish I lived closer.
Those are super, super. We have one coming up like that for Mother's Day. We have a Mother's Day wine tasting. So yeah,
very nice.
Lots of different things.
You do. You have a lot.
We have classes as well that we offer.
Really?
Yeah. So our sourdough class is really kind of been like the hot seller.
I can believe that.
It's back in the kitchen, so it's very limited space.
Okay.
There's 8 people in each class. I can sell 8 spots. We figured out that's kind of what we can fit and still have room to work. And it's super, super hands-on. We work with the dough at 4 different stages, so you get your hands in it.
Oh, hands-on is always good. Yes,
you can feel what it's supposed to feel like at each stage. There's a lot of, with us being very technique forward,
right?
There's a lot of the like really nerdy science talk about what's actually going on.
Which is, I think that's so.
Yes,
that's really awesome.
Honestly, I think like with going back to I was planning on going to college for engineering. Like that is how I
I could see how
food.
that.
There is a lot of artistry in the food pastries, which my sister's an artist. My mother's an artist. I was raised in a very artistic home, but that isn't my own bent. I've learned to be passable, but it is not how I naturally work. I'm much more of that like founder engineer head. Okay. And so, so it's fun to learn all of those nerdy things about how the food is working and why it behaves the way it does.
Appreciate the food more because, I mean, there's so many things when you just get it here, how much went into that to get it to that point. I mean, so when you're making a sourdough, is it a certain kind of yeast, or not yeast, but bread or flour?
Yes.
If I can get that out.
Yes. With sourdough, such a unique beast.
Okay.
It's there's only 4 ingredients. Well, 3 really that go into the bread, which is so odd because it tastes so amazing.
It does. I'm amazed.
It's not a flat taste. It's very flavorful. Sourdough. And in our classic sourdough, it's only bread flour. We don't have other things. So it's only bread flour, salt, water, and then the starter, which the starter we only ever add flour and water to.
Okay.
So it's just flour, water, salt. That is it. That's
no idea it was.
In it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very, very straightforward. But since it is, a recipe that you culture, our sourdough is a long process sourdough in order to make it as as easily digestible and friendly to gluten sensitive people. All of that, the longer the process, the better it is. For all of that.
Okay.
So ours is a long process sourdough. So we culture it for a very, very long time. So with that in mind, we're very careful about what we put into it.
I bet. Yeah.
So we always use King Arthur flour. So King Arthur flour is never bleached, never bromated, never enriched.
Okay.
We only use kosher salt.
Okay.
Iodized salt never steps foot into our kitchen.
Okay.
So yeah, we are very careful. We have a very hefty filter on the bakery, like the entire bakery. So we have good clean water. So yeah, we are very careful about that.
That's so cool, and that shows. If you've never been here, you need to. Because I just wish I was closer to this. It's like, I wish I were definitely closer. So you just need to franchise this. But that with franchises, that that is a whole nother beast. That's for sure. And that most of the time it doesn't keep with the standards you set. So no, this is so awesome. And is there anything else that you would want to do that you haven't done? That's, I mean, like as a business or with this or?
Sure. I mean, I don't know. There's so many things. All the different things that we've added in have been so fun and fun to see how they're received as well.
Yes.
Because really, that's one of the things that's so at the root of the bakery is the bakery. Yeah, we're a bakery and we do all this, great pastry and whatever. But the bakery is a part of the community.
Yes.
It's very, very community driven. Like we aren't who we are without the people who walk in.
True. Yeah. Amen. Yes.
And so, it's been really fun to see the back and forth. And
definitely,
we have a great community who comes in. It's really wonderful. We have pizza night that we started.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Every Thursday, every third Thursday.
Okay.
And on pizza night, that's one of our giving back to the community nights. We use our sourdough. So it kind of folds into the bread program.
Yes.
We're not a pizza shop. Pizza people ask us regularly,
Yeah.
do you think you could do pizza every Friday night? Oh, no, we're not a pizza shop.
Yeah, you don't want to turn into that. Yeah.
We have a great pizza shop down the road that we love. But it is fun to do it every once in a while because it is a part of our program.
Yes.
And so we choose a different local group. We've done like the kids closet that offers food or clothing to low income. We've done the Dolly Parton Library at our own local library that offers books to kids.
Awesome.
We've done our wrestling team, which 2 of our boys are a part of.
Okay.
And they have taken away all club fees so that any kid who wants can be a part of the club. And
awesome.
10% of all of our income from 6 to 10 on pizza nights, 10% of it goes straight to the house.
That is so, talking about a win-win. That is very much.
And that's been awesome. I love that. Giving back
fun. To the community.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, we have groups who come in, we have our regulars that we know their names. They know our names. I bet, yes. That is it is such a fun part of the job. We have groups that come in, like every Wednesday morning. We have
especially being in a smaller town. Yes.
Yes, it's so fun. That is just such a wonderful part of the job.
It is. That's why I like small community because you get to know those groups and stuff. And no, I think this has been such a great podcast too. I knew I'd love talking to you. So before we end the podcast, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience?
I mean, not off the top of my head.
Okay.
It's
so like your events, Mother's Day, and that's listed. I mean, do they have to make reservations for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So our featured wine tasting that we have the first Friday, those we do make tickets available.
Okay.
As spaces available if you walk in.
Oh,
however,
I see. Okay.
Pretty much every other ticketed event, you do need to purchase tickets.
Okay. Okay.
So like wine dinners, our seating is very limited.
Yes.
And they do sell out. And so you do have to purchase tickets beforehand. So any class, any dinner, the Mother's Day wine tasting. Go online, grab a ticket off our website.
Okay, I was just going to ask you so on the website. Okay.
Yeah, on our website on the events page. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So, well, I'm going to end the podcast right there. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. I'm hungry. I mean, sourdough and thirsty. I mean, it's hard not to be with all these awesome wines around here. So, and I look forward to just even another year where you'll be on this. So, I didn't realize it had been that recent that you, because that's just getting started. I mean, that's, oh my gosh. So, I mean, you're really up and running. That is for sure. So, but on that, we'll end the podcast and, I'd have to do a follow-up in a year or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Come on back.
We'll make a date for that on that. So I will end the podcast. Have a great rest of your sort of day off, and we'll be talking soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.